Hey, happy Thanksgiving to all of you all, and welcome to a very special edition of the Bible Promise. I hope that you all have had a wonderful day. I hope that you have got to eat real big and spend a lot of time with family and friends. And I hope that it's just been a huge blessing to you today. And I hope that you're already looking forward to Christmas. Obviously, with the passing of Thanksgiving comes the wonderful Black Friday and the beginning of the official Christmas season. So with that in mind, tonight we're actually going to break away from our John study that we've been doing, and we're going to talk about something that is a little bit more maybe relevant to today and what's happening around us. And I've noticed this so much more here this year than it seems like, and I've heard more people talking about it this year than I have in times past. So tonight should be hopefully very helpful to you. I hope that you get a lot of value out of our episode tonight. You know, people always say, and there's even a song that even makes the statement, it's the most wonderful time of the year. You know the song. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Yeah. Well, so that's true, and I hope for you it is the most wonderful time of the year. I love Christmas. I love Thanksgiving. I love this time of year. I think for so many, that may not be the case. Actually, this time of year can be very, very difficult for a lot of people. Actually, the majority of people. Recent surveys actually told us and indicated that 52% of Americans say that they feel depressed during the holidays. They have an overwhelming feeling of depression and anxiety during this time of year. People who are normally not depressed and who do not suffer with anxiety. On the flip side of that, people who already have depression and suffer from anxiety, 64% of those folks actually indicate that during this time of year, it is the worst time for their symptoms, that they feel the most depressed and the most anxious during this time. And so tonight, with that in mind, we want to spend some time talking about why that we feel depressed during the most wonderful time of the year, and what are some things that we can do to combat and maybe even help relieve some of those feelings of depression and anxiety, and maybe get some things in your toolbox that maybe you can use if you're one of those who suffer from depression and anxiety, and who, when they're honest, would say this is not the most wonderful time of the year. I suffer during this time. I actually dread this time of year. I hope that you are ready to dig in, because this is going to be more of just us hanging out and talking. But I want you to come on in, because tonight we're going to talk about dealing with holiday depression. Come on, y'all, let's go. I do want to say before we get into our conversation tonight and some scripture that I am not a mental health professional. I've not been trained professionally to be a therapist. I have taken some psychology classes in college, but I am absolutely in no way, shape, or form a mental health professional. You all know that I am married to a mental health professional, a trained therapist. My wife has her MSW from Fordham University in New York. She is a very gifted therapist. She is great at what she does. I am not. So what I will be covering tonight and what we're going to talk about, this is not professional mental health counseling. Okay, just want to put that disclaimer out there. What I'm going to be talking about tonight comes from my own experiences. It comes from having conversations with my professionally trained spouse and a whole lot of prayer. So this is just some things that I have done and things that I have used to help me during times of holiday depression, and things that my wife has also talked to me about whenever it comes to helping those who are suffering during this time. So with that little disclaimer being said, I want you, if you will, to turn to Psalms 42 tonight. Psalms 42:5 says, "Why art thou cast down, O my soul? And why art thou disquieted in me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of his countenance." So the question is, why do we have holiday depression? We have so many wonderful things that are going on around us. We're putting up decorations. We're off from work. A lot of us are off spending time with our families. We get to go and we get to see beautiful Christmas lights. And some folks probably a little north of us will probably get to see snowfall. It is truly a lot of magical things that seem to take place during this time of year. But yet so many of us still find ourselves struggling with depression and dealing with feelings of, like David says here in Psalm, just being downcast, being cast down, and having that disquieting feeling in our heart. And if that's you, first of all, let me say, it's okay. All right? And I'm going to use a phrase that my wife says all the time. It's okay to not be okay. That's the first thing that you really need to hear said. You can be surrounded by all of your loved ones. You can be in a joyful place and still not be okay. Still have feelings of depression. But you need to recognize those things, just as David did here, and he yells them out to God and he prays them out to God, and he's really talking to himself as well. He's asking himself, why am I downhearted? Why am I cast down? And so we ask the question, why do we have holiday depression? Well, I think it stems from one of or all of three different things. We have the past, the present, and the future. And when we break those down, we see that one or all of those things, or a mixture of those things, usually causes our holiday depression. First of all, when we think about the past can cause us depression during this time because obviously we begin to think about the ones who we no longer have to enjoy around the holidays and during Thanksgiving and during Christmas. And this is very difficult because I know that there are so many of you out there who have lost spouses, who have lost children, who have lost parents, who have lost grandparents, who were major parts of your life. And now you no longer have them with you. And I don't care who you are. If you've lost someone extremely close to you, especially a spouse or a parent, that is someone that you can't replace. That's someone who is going to be missed. Okay? It's just one of those things where just give yourself permission that you're not going to stop missing them. That is part of the past that causes depression because we look around our tables and we see where people once sat, they're no longer there. And that causes us to be down. Secondly, we see the past as being part of the depression when we realize that the world is just different now than it was when we were younger. Even in my life, I see how that things have changed and things are so much different than they were even in the late 80s and 90s when I was a child. Things just seem different. The world post-COVID is just very odd. It's weird. And, I ain't trying to get into any kind of debates. It's just no matter which side that you fall on, ever since seems like COVID hit, things have just been odd. And so we're just still trying to reconcile ourselves with the world that we live in, and the things are just different now. And so that can cause some depression. That can cause you to feel down about how that Christmas is just not the way it used to be. And I've heard people in my own family say that Christmas is just not the way it used to be. It just doesn't feel the same anymore. And the second thing that we have to see is the present. The present can be a source of depression. Why? Well, simply because, let's just be real. Everything is just expensive. Like I said, I'm not trying to get into a debate whether you're left, right, up, down, red, blue, purple, whatever. Everything is just expensive nowadays. They have been for a long time. It's just like, good grief. We went today just to pick up a couple things. And I'm talking a couple of things, not even a trunk full of stuff. I'm talking like 4 bags and we're $150. I'm like, really? Did we buy blocks of gold? It's nuts. And so when we look and we go out and we're like, okay, we got to get the turkey and we got to get all the fixings and we got to get the presents and we got to pay for gas to get to the store and back and get to, this celebration and that celebration. And it's just like, holy cow, everything is just so expensive. How am I going to afford all this? That can definitely be a source of anxiety and depression. Everything is just so busy. I mean, have y'all noticed that no matter how technologically advanced that our society gets, we never have figured out how to slow back down. We just develop technology to speed things up even more. Like, y'all, honestly, like, and I know I'm rubbing my eyes because, like, literally just talking through this is kind of giving me anxiety right now, because it's like, dude, from the time that my feet hit the ground until I lay down at night, it is wide open. Like, it is go, 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 go all the time. And there's just never enough daylight. There's never enough time in the day. And so things are just so busy, and you're looking at your list and you're like, where do I start and how do I get all this done? And, what am I going to forget? And did I remember everything? And it's just like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a source of depression and anxiety during the holidays. Things are too busy. And lastly, everything just seems to be on fire. And I don't mean that literally. I just mean, like, you talk to people and it's like everybody's world is on fire right now. Like, just everybody's always so just touchy and they get so offended so easily. Like, goodness, I mean, we have people out here that's like crusading about not having Christmas and not celebrating Christmas, and how the Christmas tree is pagan worship and all this. And I'm like, y'all, come on. Why is everything got to be on fire? Calm down. Take a beat. Chill. Relax. If you have a Christmas tree up and you put some gifts under it, I just don't feel like that is just pagan worship. I'm sorry. It's just not. I can have a Christmas tree up in my house and still love Jesus to the depths of my being. Sorry, it's just the way it is. Now, sure, can I put some things in front of Jesus when it comes to celebrating Christmas? Absolutely. And I have to be wary of that. But going out and crusading and telling people that, having fun around Christmas time and celebrating Christmas is pagan worship. Come on. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm sure Jesus probably wasn't born at 12 a.m. on December the 25th. But it's not a matter of the specific date and the specific things, y'all. When it comes down to the holidays and the spirit of the holidays, it's all about in here. And that goes so much with the rest of our study. It's not about so much what we do, but it's about what's in our heart, because God judges our heart. And I can pray to the Lord and have a deep, meaningful relationship with the Lord of my life in the same home where I have a Christmas tree up. And if that's a problem for you, I don't know what to tell you, because in my heart, that Christmas tree is not my God. It's just a decoration. Okay, going to get off that soapbox. Lastly, the other thing that I think can cause a lot of anxiety during this time of year and a lot of depression is when we think about the future. And the future can cause a lot of that. When we worry, and that's what the future does. The future makes us worry. And a lot of the things that we worry about, especially during the holidays, and this is from experience, if you have family members who are aging, who are getting older, maybe you have parents or grandparents or spouses or yourself, or even, you worry about your kids, you worry about the health and the well-being of folks around you. And you kind of look around and you think, my grandmother is getting up into her late 80s. And it bothers me sometimes that, how is her health going to be next year? How is her health going to be the next year? And that can cause worry. If you have a grandparent or a parent or a spouse that is in bad health, and you're trying to enjoy the holidays, but you can't get that little voice out of your head that keeps saying, is this the last holiday with this person? That's tough. That's tough for me to even say, but it's true. It happens. It goes on in our heads. And then also, your well-being and your family's well-being for the coming year can be a huge source of depression and anxiety, especially anxiety and worry. You know, you're thinking, okay, things are on fire now and everything's way out of proportion financially and things are way too expensive and everything is wild. And how's it going to be once next year rolls around? You know, what's life going to look like next year? You know, or maybe you have big milestones that are coming up. You have a kid that's graduating high school, or a kid like me that's fixing to get his driver's license, and that's the last kid. That's the youngest one getting his driver's license. And, you know, it's like, holy cow, he won't be riding a bus no more, and we'll no longer have kids that'll be getting on the bus to go to school. And, you know, things like that cause us to worry. They cause us to be anxious and depressed even at times when we think about the coming year and some of the major milestones that we're going to hit. So now you have to spend the time trying to figure out and reflecting in your own life where some of those things, what is fueling those things? Where is it coming from? Is it from the past? Is it things in the present? Or is it worries for the future? Because I may not have mentioned the things that are the cause of your depression and anxiety around the holidays, but I'm sure that it kind of fits in one of those three sections: the past, the present, and the future. Hey, as we take a quick break, I just wanted to come to you real quick. I want to give you the answer to our trivia question last week was, what was the first thing that Noah did after they unloaded the ark? And the answer to that question is in Genesis 8:20. It says, and Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So the answer was he built an altar, or he made sacrifice. I do know, like I said, a special lady got that correct. That was my mom. She did answer that one correctly. I know there was some other ones that also did. If you did, congratulations. You are fantastic. You know your stuff. So next week, our Bible trivia question, and it's a little bit tougher, I think, than last week. This one is pretty tough. You're going to have to really think hard on this one. Which one of Noah's sons was the ancestor of Abraham? Was it Shem, Ham, or Japheth? So you got a 33% chance of guessing this one right if you don't know it. If you think you know the answer, put your answer in the comments below, and we appreciate you all doing that so much. We appreciate you all for all your comments, all your love, all your support. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing. That helps us so greatly, and just the growth and the positivity of our community and all the things that you have been doing. I love each and every one of you all so much. And now, with that being said, let's get back to the second part of our conversation about dealing with depression during the holidays. Come on. So here's the thing, guys. When I get a sinus infection or something like that, you know, I can go to the doctor and I can tell the doctor what my symptoms are. The doctor will call me in a prescription for antibiotic. And, you know, in a couple of days, I'll get to feeling better and it'll just dissipate and go away. The problem with depression is, and the problem with anxiety is, there's no real magic bullet to fixing it. There's no real magic cure. Yeah, there are many antidepressant medications and there's many treatment options out there. And I would never, ever say that any of those are the wrong thing for you to do. You should seek mental health professionals. You should, have a therapist if you need to talk to someone. You should take your antidepressant medication if that is what your doctor has prescribed you to do. But the problem is that there's just really no magic bullet. There's no real cure. It's an everyday battle, an everyday struggle to try to deal with that. And so now we're just going to talk about some things that maybe you can do and maybe you can put in your toolbox that you can use to help you maybe deal with some of the issues and the depression, anxiety that goes on inside during the holidays. The first thing is we're going to deal with the past. How do we deal with the past when it brings depression and anxiety during the holidays for us? Let me point you to some scripture. Let's go back to Psalm. Psalm 147:3 says, He healeth the broken in heart, and He bindeth up their wounds. And so this psalm is just such a great reminder that God is the one who truly can fix a broken heart. He can truly bind up the wounds that you really can't see, the wounds that are inside. God is the one who has the ability to fix and to bind those things up and heal those wounds. And so when we talk about the past, what is a good, just practical thing that we can do to help? Here's an idea. Set you a timer for about 30 minutes to an hour. And in that time that you have, I want you to spend that carved out time having a positive remembrance of someone that you have lost in the past. Here's what I mean by a positive remembrance. If you struggle with the fact that you've lost loved ones around the holidays, pull out old photos. Think about old memories. Have a good cry. Look at those videos from years past, all of those family videos, those crazy videos that you probably got stored away. You may have to go dig out a VCR player if you're as old as I am to watch them. But set a timer. And the reason that that's important is you don't want to go into a rabbit hole of remembering the past and not have something to pull you back out. So give yourself an hour, go through the pictures, watch the videos, think of the good times, and then when that hour is over, after you've had a good cry or you've had all those emotions, then end that time with a prayer to the Lord, saying, Lord, thank you. Thank you for giving me a good past. Thank you for giving me my loved ones. Yes, I miss them dearly, and I can't wait to see them again, but thank you for giving me the memory of those loved ones. Thank you for their life. And then after that's done, be done with it. Put that stuff away. Put all of that sorrow and misery and that time of remembrance away, and then focus on the present. You can't stay there forever because you need to give yourself permission to go there, but you have to come back to the present, because if you stay in the past, you're going to miss all the blessings that God has in store for you to enjoy in the now. He has blessings for you now, right now. And you may be saying right now, well, Justin, I don't have any family. I don't have anything to focus on for the now. All of my family is gone or have passed away, or, my children are not right here with me and I'm not going to get to see them around the holidays. Here's a way to combat that. If you don't have blood relatives to enjoy the holidays with, you need to invest in your spiritual family. I guarantee you that there is someone in your church, probably 90% of everyone in your church that you go to would love for you to spend your holidays with them as part of their family. And you may be saying, well, no one's ever asked me. Well, more than likely, one of two things is going on. More than likely, you've never been asked because people are weary to ask you about joining them for the holidays because they don't want to offend you. So you need to make yourself available to people in your church. Let them know I don't have really a family that I'm spending the holidays with. So if anybody would like for me to bring something and come over and enjoy Christmas with them, I'd love to. And I pretty much guarantee you that there's going to be somebody that's going to be tickled to death to have you as part of their family for the holidays. And then I'll say this. If no one in your church family wants you to be around at Christmas time, you go into the wrong church. You need to find another one. All right? Because churches should be full of people who are ready to love on each other, especially when that person is alone during the holidays. So just make yourself available and spend time investing in your spiritual family. Okay, second of all, dealing with the present. Let's go back to Psalms. Psalm 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. I don't know how better to deal with the present than this scripture right here. It literally says, a very present help in trouble. We just said a few minutes ago, the present time that we live in, everything is too expensive, everything is too busy, and everything just seems like it's on fire. God is a very present help in times of trouble. Here's how you combat that. When you look at the price of gifts, you look at the price of everything, I want you to put the holidays into perspective. This may come as a shock to you, but gifts are not the most important part of Christmas. Yes, I am not going to say that I don't love gifts, because I do. I love giving gifts and I love receiving gifts. My family, my dad and my grandfather, is a family tradition of just loving to open presents. It's just part of who we are, okay? And, my dad will even say, I don't care if I don't get hardly nothing. If it's just a Snickers bar and it's wrapped up, I'll be tickled to death. It's just the experience of just opening a gift that somebody has gotten you because they thought about you and they love you. And that's so cool. And I love that. But in the end, giving and receiving gifts is not the most important thing. Jesus is first. He is the reason for this season. He's why that we celebrate Christmas. Jesus is first. Gifts ain't second. Gifts are still way behind. Jesus first, then your family. Spending time with your family and enjoying the relationships that you have with your family and your friends is more important than giving and receiving gifts. So gifts is way down the line. So get that into perspective. Which is more important? People getting the gift of Jesus around Christmas, or people getting the gift of the latest and greatest toy, the latest and greatest electronic, the latest and greatest whatever the commercial says? Really, all those things, you think back when you was a kid, how many of those gifts that you just had to have at Christmas time, how many of those do you still have? Probably none. But I can tell you one thing, I received a gift when I was 6 years old. His name was Jesus Christ, and he gave me salvation. And 33 years later, I still got it. It's still good. That gift keeps on giving. That's the best gift that I could ever receive. So focus on that. Focus on giving the gift of Jesus, because that's really the only one that's ever going to make any difference for any amount of time. That one will make a difference for all of eternity. Lastly, let me say this to parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, those who are out there struggling right now to try to get the gifts. Listen, if you're a parent or a grandparent, if you can't get those kids the biggest gifts, the most expensive toys, the things that they are just dying the most for, don't beat yourself up. Ask yourself this question. Does those kids have a roof over their head? Do they have full bellies at night? Are they safe? Are they happy because they're loved? If the answer to those things are yes, you're doing good. You're doing good. You're not a bad parent if you can't afford the latest gaming console or the latest television or the latest whatever. Like I said, I'm kind of out of the game because my kids are a lot older and they just want cash. Cash is king to them. But if you can't do that, you're doing good. Don't beat yourself up. My grandfather used to tell us all the time when he was a kid, and he would see us getting things that, were pretty extravagant at times. We were very blessed. Sometimes we were blessed more years than other years. We wasn't too blessed, and, it was all great. All of our Christmases were special. But I always remember my grandfather always saying, when he was a kid and they were poor because it was, around the Depression time, they usually would get maybe like an orange and an apple and a a candy cane. And they were tickled to death to get that. That piece of candy was, like gold to them. It's all about perspective. And I think we've lost perspective because our TVs and our internets keep telling us that we ain't giving enough. You are. It's okay. Lastly, let's talk about dealing with the future. I want to go one more time to Psalms. And Psalms, like I said, is so wonderful for things like this. And Psalm 34:17 says, "The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles." So this is more referring to us crying out about the troubles that may be coming ahead of us or we're fixing to face in the future. There's only one thing that I can tell you that you can use as a weapon for the worries and the anxieties of the future. And that one weapon is prayer. That is the main source of how we can deal with what's to come in the future. If you have worries and anxieties about the future, you need to take them to the Lord. You need to pray. And I'm not talking about, you've heard the very, formal, and we get so wrapped up in the formal, and like there's some magic words that need to be said in order for God to hear our prayer. Now, I think that we've just missed the boat on that. And I love hearing beautiful, formal prayers, especially in a church service. But when I'm praying on my own and in my heart, my head, on my own time, just with God, it's very conversational. It's very just like, I just talk to God just straight up, And I want to be reverent, and I am very reverent, but I don't get into a whole lot of the formalities of the prayer. He is my best friend. Jesus is my best friend. And so I talk to him like he's my best friend. And I would encourage you to talk to Jesus like your best friend, like you would. He can handle it. And, we think that there is some kind of magic formula to getting Jesus coerced into doing what we want him to do. When at the end of the day, the magic formula for us in all of our prayers is that we always realize that it is thy will be done. That's what Jesus, you remember, he said in his prayer, thy will be done. Jesus, let your will take place in my life. That's the magic. When we get it in our head, God holds the future, that he has control of the future, then there's nothing that we can face out there in the future that God can't handle. And so when we pray, God, your will be done in my life, then you're saying, God, I surrender my future to your will, to what you want, and whatever you want to happen in my future, I'm good with. You just help me get through it. You just help me go into the future with Jesus in my heart, the Spirit empowering me to do what I need to do to glorify your name, and he'll be there. He'll do it. He'll help you. Put your trust in God for the future. If there was a Bible promise to this, I would say if you know Jesus when it comes to the future, then you're a winner either way, no matter what the future holds. You need to go right here on YouTube. You need to look it up. I'm a winner either way. And you need to watch and listen to that song. I'm a winner either way. Because when we have that kind of mindset for the future, then the future seems really, really bright, because it is really, really bright. Because no matter what my future holds, I win. Because one of these days, I'm going to win forever. Leave the future in God's hand and know that no matter what your future holds, God is going to be there and he's going to help you. Just like the old saying goes, I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And that is a promise that you can build on. I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation tonight. I hope that you have found some value in what we have discussed. Y'all come on back next week. We'll be back in John chapter 4. We're going to go to a little well outside of a little town and see what Jesus is up to next week. So come on back. We love you. We're praying for you, and we'll see you then. And I hope that you have a very happy Thanksgiving.